I'm live here at EuroSTAR 2011 in Manchester, which is a very special edition for me because my first EuroSTAR was here in Manchester, which was in 2006. Yeah, and it just brings me back to memory lane just by stepping out the airplane yesterday, which was kind of late, but I got here. Yeah, and it was like getting into the same feeling. And I remember getting here, and I was like this youngster, very fresh into the testing community, and I had this open mind. I was like a blank sheet, and I wanted to soak in all the information, and I was going to the tutorials, and I was writing everything down, and just picking out all the stuff I wanted to know. And there was also these markers on the tracks, and you could choose which was expert or a beginner. And I was falling into the pitfall of going to all the expert because I was at the big testing conference, and I could have done some more easy-going stuff because it was wow. So yeah, and then I remember getting all this stuff, and I had piles of paper with all these notes on it, and I started writing, and I thought, hey, now I'm writing all this stuff down, I'm starting to learn. So I started to develop my own knowledge base, and I'm still doing that, because if I go to the conference, and I still do it, today I did it, I take back my papers and a pen. Although now I use Twitter a lot, and then use the Twitch stream as my notebook so everybody else can share with it. Yeah, and I start noting down the things that are funny or just trigger my mind. And by this I have my own knowledge base. So actually I have all these documents with all these tweets from a conference, and I can use them again if I say, okay, what was that track about? Oh yeah, those were the tweets that were important, and then start thinking again and reliving those tracks. And I still do that. So there is some difference, and I've grown a lot about, and I've used a lot more technology now. For instance, you have Gershon, who has Rapid Reporter, which is a tool, and you can also write stuff down, which is very fast. And I learned it here at EuroSTAR to use that. So I got all this stuff, and I have all these tools on my laptop, and I've created my own toolkit, which I could never have thought of in 2006. But since then, I've been here for 4 times already. This is my 4th time, and I think my laptop is getting too small because of all the notes and information. Yeah, and it's a lot to take in. So this year, when I'm here, I'm like, okay, oh, this stuff I have there, and I can start to get organized. So this is very important. You can just load in all this information, but you have to get organized, and just like you have a toolkit and you throw in all the hammers and screwdrivers and everything. If you do that, you're never going to find anything back again. So you have to have these compartments, and just put in the screwdriver in the left compartment and the hammer in the right compartment. And I do the same thing. So I have this huge knowledge base, which is very handy. And it's like, it still has space for the white sheet that I was in 2006. I still have parts that are blank, so I can fill in, but there's plenty more of white sheets that can be written down. I had an open mind then, and I was a bit naive, and currently I still have an open mind, but I also have a strong opinion. So you don't have to agree with everything that you encounter. But yeah, you can make up your own mind and have a discussion. And if I don't think I understand this, just ask, and you have a discussion. And maybe you disagree with somebody and say, okay, I want to know why I disagree. So don't just take somebody's word for it, but adjust your material that you have in your toolkit. So this way you make a very custom knowledge base and library. So this is still what I'm doing, and I still feel as passionate and enthusiastic as I was in 2006, and I still see some of the same people in the same places in the conference, which is quite nice. So yeah, it's not only an experience of knowledge, but also of recognition of people, and conferring, and being together, and doing testing in the test lab, which wasn't there back then, or maybe maybe it started back then. Could have been. But yeah, it's just great to do all this stuff. And I still have the same passion as I did in 2006. This year I'm speaking on end-to-end testing. It's called Catching a High-Speed Train. And it's end-to-end testing for the Dutch high-speed train, which was introduced not long ago. And I did the end-to-end testing there for the vending, controlling and finance systems. And I've just gathered all my lessons learned, anecdotes and everything about my experience in that testing area. So it's not fully theory, but it's not books, but it's not all the way stories from the trenches, but it's all combined. It's fun stuff. There's some nice anecdotes there. So yeah, you really have to you have to see it. Yeah. I started out with a lot of theory I had learned from being on courses as a young professional. But I started going to tutorials in EuroSTAR, and for example, exploratory testing helped me making user stories, have helped me make a better test case. But also test case design. Some specific tips were very helpful in my end-to-end testing. So I brought them all into my testing experience at the high-speed train project. Yeah, and I have a design which actually says, okay, what kind of customers do you have, and what can I expect from a customer to use this system as they do. So yeah, I learned a lot from the courses. Mostly the tutorials were the most helpful because they are long and they have a lot of hands-on experience, and the tracks are more like you have to listen and more interactive. The more you get, but you really have to do more work yourself to get the gems and to apply, because you have to make that extra step to have the applicable stuff from there. Yeah. So yeah, I took some stuff with me from EuroSTAR especially, and I've integrated it more and more into my testing, because the more I got to execution, the more pragmatic I had to be. So a lot of techniques, like exploratory, was always something like, I didn't know exactly what it was, but yeah, one of the tutorials was about exploratory testing and making user stories. Yeah, and I really integrated that in the in the traditional school of testing. I used the new school of testing and combined them. It's not all about traditional or about context-driven. It's a combination that works for you. There are two schools, I call them schools because it's more easy, which are the traditionalists, which are about the traditional way of testing, of methods and tools. And there's this context-driven school of testing, which is all about in context, what works in circumstances and what works for you, which is actually very good combinable, because sometimes you need, in context, you need traditionalist methods. So yeah, I combine them and make sure that the project gets what it needs, not what maybe the most the person who shouts the most at the conference and has the most popular topic brings about, but it's all about finding what works for you and apply what is the most applicable to your project. I recommend people start creating their own toolkit and knowledge base from when they are first-timers especially, because over 5 years maybe you've written something down that you never used. And then the situation occurs that you feel, I was there somewhere 5 years ago, where did I put it? And you can't quite remember it, but if you have it in your toolkit, you can just find it back. And also the EuroSTAR site is ideal for this, because they have this library with all the webinars and the older stuff of there, and the conferences, the conference program, so you can contact the speakers of that because of the topic. So you can retrace some of it, but it's better to have your own toolkit. Yeah, so start writing down everything you hear, because if you do it a week after, you won't remember. So start doing it now. Yeah. The most recent thing I added was James Marcus's Bach's Rapid Software Testing course. I just downloaded it from his site. Actually, the the opposite of it, the ISO 29119 standard. So I'm working on the standard, but I also want to know everything about context-driven testing and rapid software testing, because there's a lot of discussion. So I want to know both sides, and I want to know the content of both sides, because I only think you can have a real discussion if you know something about each topic or each side, because else you can't form an opinion on it. Yeah, so those are the most recent stuff I added. I have a very important message for everybody, not only first-timers, but for everybody who is here, and maybe especially the people who are getting here for the 20th time, or that's not possible because next year is the 20th anniversary. So people who have been here a lot, don't get bored, but stay passionate, stay enthusiastic, because if you're here as a first-timer, you just look at all those people and you see all those passionate people for their expertise. And that's what we want. We want passionate and enthusiastic people. Your toolkits get bigger every year, yeah. So start collecting. Don't throw it away if you start a development project, for instance, it could be. Because even as a developer, you can have all this stuff in testing that it could be useful.